everybody. Welcome back to the REDX podcast. I'm your host, Haley Johnson. So happy that you're here. Welcome back for those that are returning. We have a wonderful episode prepared for you today. We have Dale Archdekin with us today. I said that right.
Yes.
And we're going to be talking about scripts, dialogue, conversation, all that good stuff. So you're in for a good show. But hello, Dale. How's it going?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me. And listen, I'm a little bit giddy because, back in the day when I was selling real estate, grinding it out, REDX was my partner. It was my, you sleep with your rifle in the military. I slept with REDX because that was what got it done for me. That's what kept the bills paid and kept the lights on. So it's so exciting to be interviewed. It is kind of weird to get interviewed now at this point.
I love it. I love that. And we're so happy to have you. Before we get started, I want to talk to the audience, people that are watching live right now. If you have questions for Dale as we get into our conversation, please feel free to put them in the chat. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're watching them, make sure to chat them in, and my team will make sure that we get those answered in the next 45 minutes. But I think that's all for the beginning business. So, Dale, let's get started. Let's talk about where you started, how you got started in real estate. For people that don't know you, just give us a little bit of a background.
Yeah, sure. The funny thing is, I started out actually. I had no idea that I would be cold prospecting people, calling expires for sale by owners, all of that crazy. Like that sounded like the worst thing to me ever. When I went to college for art, right? I was going to be a designer, and I actually worked as a designer for about 4 years out of college. And then I was like, wow, all of this work does not come with more dollars. And I don't understand wwhy that is. They just keep asking me to do more work, but not giving me more dollars. And I personally like dollars. I don't know about you. And I have always loved real estate though. So, even at that time I had invested in my first real estate investment property, like a triplex. And that's another horror story, but I learned some lessons there. I've done much better since. But nice. So I was like, wow, real estate, everybody's selling real estate. It's so easy. They have so much fun. They drink martinis in the afternoon, right? They work for a couple hours and they make hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm like, I'm going to go sell real estate. That's a great idea. Here's the problem. I had no sales experience, right? No sales training, no sales experience. And frankly, I was not exactly a people person. Okay. So super bad combination to jump out there and be like, hey, I think I'm going to give up this salary no matter how low it is. And I'm going to go sing for my supper. And by the way, I hate singing and I hate people. So that's
good. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the weird, crazy story. But when I got into real estate, and in fact, I actually started in mortgages prior to that, and then I transitioned into real estate. And, I realized really quick that if I had no sphere of influence, no sales experience, no leads, and no family with lots of connections, what else can I do? And I actually fell back on, somehow, oddly enough, the fact that I had worked in a telemarketing center part-time in high school, selling completely worthless credit card insurance to little old ladies who picked up their home phone back when people had home phones.
Yes.
So somehow I was like, listen, I don't know how to do this. And I have to talk to people who are either going to buy or sell real estate. And people said, hey, call expireds, call for sale by owners, right? And read these scripts and go on appointments and try to get their listing. And I said, okay. And I'm kind of a simple guy, so I just did what they told me to do. Yeah. And it was tough, and I made it happen, and then started selling real estate. Did really well again. Used REDX as a dialer. Used it for my information, for my for the lookups and everything. And then progressed into going to getting coached and trained. I was actually went to Mike Ferry Coaching and did that for a couple of years. And that helped me reinforced, and again, very script based, doing what I was told, making 20, 30 contacts a day at minimum, going on appointments, using a script for my appointment and knocking it out. And so that got me rolling pretty well until I was one of the top 3 expired and for sale by owner prospectors in my market.
Wow.
Yeah. And then another agent in my office who had a small team. They had like 5 agents. They had just purchased a really well optimized, locally optimized website. And he came to me and he said, "Hey, you're the top prospector in the market. And I just bought this website that's literally dumping leads out on the floor. And my agents are lazy and they're cherry picking them. Will you come and work them?" And I said, "I'm honored. But guess what? I'm getting burned out doing this myself." And this is after years of daily cold prospecting. I'm like, I'm getting burned out. I want to figure out this new crazy idea called inside sales. Let's get together. I'll hire and run and figure out an ISA department, and you fund it, and we'll work together and split the profit. And he said, "Great." So I got in with him, proceeded to screw up and waste a lot of money and figure it out the hard way, because it's never as easy as the idea that you had or what anybody tells you on stage. So we figured it out and got to the point where basically I could take a stranger off the street with no training, no sales background, and no real estate experience, combine them with our training and our leads, and they could produce 40 to 50 transactions in their first 12 months with our team as an ISA for the team. So that's the progression to where we're at now. And so now I have a training and coaching company that is based on those principles. So tie it all up for you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I do want to say hi to our audience, people that are chiming in right now. Thank you for showing up. But okay, that sounds like you're the expert in this. And I think everybody that is watching right now needs to pull out a pen, paper, stuff like that. We're going to be talking about the stuff that I'm sure in your early years, you probably wish you would have known, or that you developed, right?
Oh my God, I wish. Yeah. Would have been so much easier. But yeah.
So talk to me a little bit, because you grinded, right? And at REDX, we have this idea of like, yeah, prospecting is a grind. It's not like a walk in the park all the time, especially getting on the phone and all that stuff, and call reluctance and objections and stuff. So in your early years when you were prospecting, how did you get through that? How did you start? How did you, I know you mentioned that you were in coaching, but for our audience who is still in that grind or trying to start the grind or knows that they need to be prospecting, but they're not, talk to me about how you got on the phone in the first place.
Yeah. Well, I would say hunger makes you do a lot of things that you wouldn't otherwise do, right?
Yes.
The threat of having to go get a day job and not being able to pay your rent is a strong motivator for me. Mm-hmm. So I did what I needed to do. And I remember, like, I think the first for sale by owner I called, I actually set an appointment with him, and I nearly like shat myself because I was like, I can come to your house. Oh, that's fantastic. Wow. Okay. Didn't expect that to happen. But from there, right, then it became a long progression of learning how to consistently take rejection and having to grow as a person to not take it personally, right? Mm-hmm. And it's very tough. I took it personally. It was hard. I had to pump myself up. I wanted to quit. I thought I was doing the wrong thing. I thought I made a mistake. But and hindsight is one of those things that's fantastic, right? We can remember the good parts, or we can rationalize it looking backwards. But I can tell you that even to this day, I don't want to pick up the phone and call strangers. And I don't know how many thousands of hours of experience doing it and teaching other people to do it. I don't want to do it now. I'd rather do anything else. However, what I do know from experience is that I can make, when I'm not in desperation for making money, I can have good conversations with people who are real people on the other end of the line. I can give them good advice. I can come from contribution, and I can make an impact in their world and help them make good decisions, even if they don't want to speak to me or they kind of are resistant to me because I'm calling them out of the blue and I'm bugging them, right? They don't know who I am. They don't know, like, and trust me yet. And I'm interrupting them. So I just want to say this: don't take it personally, because if you look at it that way, it'd be really hard to take it personally. Yeah. And in fact, when I'm working with either newer ISAs or agents, and we identify a lot of call reluctance, what I like to do is put it into perspective for them. And I like to say, hey, you're not a salesperson. You are an emergency room nurse. Okay. we're going to pretend you're an
Yeah.
emergency room nurse. Okay.
Okay.
And every time somebody answers that phone, what happens is a complete stranger just stumbled in, bleeding profusely, and they want you to give them medicine. Okay. Do you need to ask that? One, do they want to answer your goddamn questions? No, they don't. Do they want to do anything other than have you fix the problem right now? Right.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to have to do the annoying thing, which is to break through the ice, get them to answer the questions, and get them to follow your process, even though they don't want to, because that's your responsibility as the nurse. So that usually helps people with their call reluctance.
Okay. Yeah, this is a little bit more high level thinking about mindset, and getting onto the phone. You're thinking. And I'm thinking about myself getting on the phone, trying not to take it personally. Does that just come with time? Like, you're getting rejected over time, so then you're like, you know what? Yeah, everybody hates me sometimes, and just because I'm calling them, like you said. So does that just, you overcome that with time? Or is there something you can do to kind of minimize that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, for me, my process was I had to do it for about 7 years before I could get myself into a mind space where I didn't take it personally. So listen, if you listen to this podcast and you do your next calling session, you're like, damn, I'm still taking it personally. Dale said not. It's fine. Okay. You have another like 6.5 years that you can go taking it personally. That's okay. Yes, time definitely helps. Working on your perspective about it helps. And just the sheer repetition of doing it and doing it and doing it really helps. It's also sort of like working out. I hate working out. I don't want to do it. I complain and bitch and moan to my trainer that I don't want to do it. But what happens is if I do it and I do it a couple of times, then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I think I'll do that again. That's not so bad. I think that I kind of like feeling strong, right? And it's similar. So if you don't do it, if you do it in spurts, if you don't do it consistently, it's way harder to make yourself do it. And it just becomes that nasty task that you don't want to do at all. However, if you do it consistently, like for years, I prospected Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and then 3 to 5 p.m. if I didn't have an appointment. I did that Monday through Friday and then 3 hours on Saturday. If you do that consistently, like at a certain point, it's kind of weird not to, and you feel guilty not doing it. And you're like, oh my God, I should be doing this right now. And a lot of that sting goes away. So what I would say is well, I know you need to do this. If you're not being fed high quality business, right? You need to be doing this. The more you do it, the easier it gets, believe it or not.
So tell me how you have the discipline to get on every single day and make those calls. Like, what motivates you and helps you? Because when you say Monday through Friday, this time, okay, I'm going to time block that. Maybe time blocking is an answer to this question, but how do you have the discipline, the motivation to get on and be consistent?
Yeah. So again, for me, it's like working out. So I don't want to do it at first. It helps if I get somebody to force me and remind me to do it. Right. And then for me personally, once I get onto a track of consistency and have a little bit of history on consistency, it starts to become more consistent for me and I can do it.
Right.
The other thing is listen to people who keep telling you that this works and just be stupid. Just do what they say. Don't try to overthink it. Don't try to think around it. Don't try to be smarter than the people who are telling you to do this. Just do it. That's one of the easier things. But this is something that I say, especially like either making your calls, doing your sales activities, or going to the gym. Do it ugly. Okay. That's what I tell myself, right? I'm like, hey, I don't feel like working out today. And most of that's because like, oh, it's going to be so hard. And I'm like, all right, well, then just do it half-ass. Show up, do a crappy job, say dumb things. And it's okay if you do that, but you have to do it, right? Do it ugly. So that's something that used to help me. Just show up.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. So, and I'm hearing you say a lot, even people are chiming in with questions about scripts, particularly.
Of course.
And we talked a little bit pre-show about the difference between scripts and conversations. So talk to me a little bit before we get into the best practices and tactics.
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about scripts. And unfortunately for all of your listeners, I have all of the magical scripts that will make everyone say yes to them, but I'm not willing to share those today. So I'm just messing with all of you. Here's the thing. They don't exist. That's not reality. Scripts are good to get you started if you don't know where to start. What a script does is, one, it gives you a structured way to enter a conversation with somebody. Two, it gives you a structured way to either position the conversation the way that you would want it positioned as a salesperson, or it reminds you the pieces of information that you need. And then it reminds you that the purpose of your call is to set an appointment, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's what a script does. And they're very basic. Here's the problem. Every lead that you speak to does not have the script that you're working from. And so they screw it up, right? The lead you're talking to consistently screws up your script. Yeah. That's where the scripts fail. Okay. So when you say, hey, what are the perfect scripts? There are none. Here's what the way that we work is the scripting that you get taught at the most basic level, the stuff you can find for free on the internet, the stuff your broker gives you, some of the other coaching training companies out there provide, which is a great service. They get you started. Where we come in is once you've been able to articulate yourself, get into a call, being able to get to the point where somebody can pull you off your script and you can get back onto your script and follow it, and you can articulate a close to them. That's the basic thing that you need to be able to do. Once you're there, and in fact, just in a side note, when we're testing ISAs for a company to hire an ISA, those are the basic skills. We'll give somebody with no real estate experience or knowledge a basic for sale by owner script that we've altered a little bit, and we say, hey, you're going to go through this script. Your goal is to set an appointment with me. And if you let me off the phone before you ask all these questions, you fail this exam. That's what we tell them. And then we proceed to object to them and try to get off the phone numerous times, right? So that's kind of like a basic sales test for us. So beyond script, here's what we teach. We teach conversational principles. And there are principles that you can use that, for instance, there's a concept that we call now, sooner, or logical next step. And that's one of the core fundamental principles that we teach people, which is now, sooner, or logical next step. Any lead that you're speaking to, regardless of where you meet them, at a barbecue, on REDX because they're an expired or for sale by owner, or whatever, circle prospecting with your system, whatever it is that you're doing, an internet registration, you are always focused on now, sooner, or logical next step. And what we mean by that is, can you buy or sell real estate now? And if not, why not now? And my conversation is going to find out, if you're not going to do it now, why not now? Prove to me that now doesn't make sense. And that's where my line of questioning is going to go until you're able to convince me beyond the shadow of a doubt that it can't be, won't be, shouldn't be, and isn't going to be now. And I say, okay, how about sooner? If it can't be now, how about sooner? Let's work on sooner. You have to convince me it can't be, won't be, shouldn't be sooner. Okay, great. Now, if I get through now and I get through sooner, now you're going to become what's called a nurture in the system. And everybody knows what a nurture is, right? That's that person who isn't going to be buying for 8 months, 12 months, 2 years, whatever it is, for a specific reason. So now I'm going to have a logical next step with you. So a logical next step is not, oh, okay, well, hey, I'm going to send you some properties and randomly follow up with you every month or so while you're standing in line at the grocery store and ask you if you want to buy yet, right? That is not a logical follow-up. So a logical next step is to say to somebody, hey, working backwards from when you think you want to be moved through what the process takes, and hey, we'll talk about this at this time, and let's do this at this step, and I'm going to send you this information now. I'll check in with you. Will you review it? Yes. Okay, great. That's creating logical next steps into the future. So that's one of the first things that we teach and we get people to follow is now, sooner, or logical next step. because what happens is if you can teach principles like that, you don't need scripting. Hey, get on the phone, find out if they can sell their house now, and if they can't, why not? Make them prove it to you. Okay, can they do it sooner? Okay, why not? Make them prove it. Okay, great. Then what's the logical next step? When will you talk again? Why will you talk again? And what are they going to get out of it?
I like
There's
this.
your script.
Yeah, I like this principle based because it's like telling a child like a rule. Like, child, don't touch this hot stove, right? That's the rule. But the principle behind it is like you're going to burn your hand. There's a reason. Like it's all this stuff, right? But if you teach them the principle or the why behind it, then it makes a lot more sense, and then they can apply it to other things. So with scripts, it's kind of like the rules. It's like ask this question and then do this question and this. When real life conversations are not that rigid and they don't go the way that you want them to, like you're saying. So if you have principles, then no matter where the conversation takes you, you know what you're supposed to be asking and like the goal, right? The questions that you're trying to get to.
Because we could do this, right? You could take any conversation, any of your listeners can take any conversation they've recently had with a lead. We could jump into that conversation where they're trying to follow a script or they're being pulled off the script or whatever. And I could say, hey, are they going to sell now? And you could pretty much tell me yes or no, or, oh, I should ask that, right? You're going to know yes or no. Can they sell now? Hey, did they convince you that it cannot, will not, and should not be now? Oh yeah, they convinced me. Great. Hey, can it be sooner? When will it be? Oh, let me ask that. Like that's so, you don't need scripting for that.
Yeah, we actually had a question from Beth. She said, can you personalize scripts, or is it best to just use them as written? Which is exactly what we're talking about here, right? Is you don't have to take the scripts as verbatim. And would you say like the conversations, the principles you're having, is that kind of personalizing a script, or is that you think it's just different?
So I want her to know that beyond the script, right? Here's what she can do. Read the script and figure out, why is this written this way? Why am I doing this? Why am I asking this? What is my purpose? And I'm going to tell you that within your script, what most scripts are trying to do is they're either trying to determine if you have motivation to buy or sell now or sooner, right? Whether or not you have a benefit to someone else doing something, or whether I can set you up to tell you about a benefit to doing something and then asking you to do something. That's what every script is, okay? So when you're talking about personalizing them, the most important things that you really need to nail would be the entry, right? How you introduce yourself. You do that consistently. And for us, we're cold prospecting typically people, right? So the basic principle there is announce who you are, tell them why you're on the phone, and ask them a simple question, right? What you want to know. And it usually circles around, are you going to buy or sell? Okay.
Right.
That's the entry point. So nail that down. Yes, you can personalize that a little bit, but that's basically what you're doing. The weird middle of your conversation with somebody really is figuring out, are you going to do this or are you not? And if you aren't, why not?
Yeah.
And so we can talk about objection handling next, but does that answer the question?
Yes, I think that's great. I hope Beth, if she has anything else to add, she can chime in. Okay, yeah, then let's keep going. Principles, objections, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, so objection handling, we like to teach it like this, that every objection that you get from somebody, and I'm not talking about the initial blow-off objections like, hi, this is so-and-so, how are you? I'm not interested. That's a knee-jerk reaction, in which case you're just going to ask a simple question like, what are you not interested in, right?
I like that.
I mean, listen, I don't know what you're not interested in. Don't let me assume what you think this conversation is about. You tell me.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about objections, those are typically someone saying to you, I'm not going to do what you want me to do, when you want me to do it, or who you want me to do it with, right? That's an objection.
Yeah.
And we figured out that objections are made up really of three parts. And the three parts are their perspective, their process, and their outcome. So somebody objects to you. They're Perspective is what they think they know, or what they heard, or what they actually experienced themselves, or what their neighbor told them, or what they saw on TV. That's their perspective. That informs their process. And their process is what they're going to do, or what they're not going to do, or when they're going to do it, or how they're going to do it, or whatever. And that they're going to follow that process because they believe it's going to achieve a certain outcome or outcomes, right? It's what they're going to gain or avoid by doing it. Okay. So that's what an objection is. And so when I'm talking to somebody and they object to me, I'm not going to sell now. I'm not going to sell with you. I'm not going to sell for that price. I'm not going to sell in this market. I know you have some kind of knowledge that is causing you to tell me what you will or won't do because you believe you're going to gain some or avoid something out of it. Right. So basically, I'm going to take my line of questioning because I want to understand it like you understand it. So here's the part where you have to be the most arrogant person that you've ever met. And I don't know if you've seen my hair. It's pretty amazing. You don't have hair like this without being arrogant, right? So I think that I know better than every lead that I talk to. I'm so arrogant that I believe I can solve everyone's problem better than they can. But I have to understand it like they do in order to solve it better, right?
Yeah.
And when I say solve better, hopefully that includes doing it with me when I want you to for the right price. Or
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So I have to understand it like you do. But that means I have to understand, what do you think, or what do you know? How are you going to do or not do? And what do you think you're going to get out of it? What are you going to gain or avoid? Is it for more money? Is it for bragging rights? Is it to avoid a difficult conversation? Is it to protect a relationship, right? Is it to procrastinate because you're afraid of making decisions? Whatever it is that you're going to get out of that, I have to understand it, because then once I take your objection, really at the core, if you think about it, that objection, literally, somebody who's saying no to you based on these certain factors is actually saying yes to a different set of factors, right?
Yeah.
Would you agree to that?
Yeah.
So if I'm like, okay, great, well, you're saying no to whatever that certain set of factors is, let me understand what they are, see if I can mix things around and see what you're actually saying yes to. Because if you say, no, I won't do it in that time frame or with that person or in that certain circumstance, you're saying it has to be this other person, this other time frame, or this other certain set of circumstances.
Right.
Once I understand how you're looking at it, then I can take it and I can say, oh, okay, got it. Well, now I figured out what you're saying yes to. How can I manipulate this and change these factors around to something that will still achieve the same outcome for you, but do it differently? Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it does.
Okay. Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Real world example. Okay. This is probably the hardest objection that you're going to get. Let's go with, I'm going to list with my family member because I love them.
That's the one I thought of.
They're amazing, right?
Yes.
You know, most of the time you aren't going to have a snowball's chance in hell of winning that one, right? No matter what you say, no matter what you do. But here's the thing. Now, somebody's saying, I'm going to list with my family member because they're amazing and I love them and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of different things that could be going on there. So you do your discovery, and what you find out is that really they're going to list with the family member because they know, like, and trust them, and they want to protect the relationship that they have with them.
Yes.
Right? So basically, let's say I talk to you, I find these things out from you, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, this is probably the strongest chance that you're going to have to present it in a different way and get even a possible opportunity out of you.
Yeah.
And that would be something like, wow, that, all of that makes a lot of sense. And of course you want to work with somebody that you know, like, and trust and have a deep relationship with. And, that's really important that you have somebody on your team like that. Let me ask you this. If I was able to partner with your sister, who sounds like an amazing real estate agent, so that not only could you have the two of us working on your behalf, she's still involved in the transaction, still involved in the situation, and in fact could learn from my team that sells 300 and 400 houses a year, but she still gets paid, still is involved, and all that happens is you have multiple advisors working on your behalf. Is that something you'd be interested in?
Interesting. Okay. How would that work?
It's called a referral fee. But I don't say that to you.
Yeah.
I would partner with your sister. We would work together. You can have multiple agents working on your behalf. No problem.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, great. So is that a script, everybody? That's not a script.
Yeah.
Do you know what that is? That's taking what you said you want, and we set it up where you have a great relationship, you know, like, and trust her, and you want to protect the relationship. All I did is I figured out, how do I do that? I keep her in the deal. I make sure she gets paid, right? That's it. I make you right. You don't have to be wrong to want to use your sister. Absolutely. Let's keep her involved. And this is a principle we teach also. I had to put more, better, cheaper, faster, easier on top of it, which was you get multiple people working on your behalf to help you secure the perfect home. And your sister gets to learn from a top company how they sell 300 and 400 houses. I'm pretty sure your sister doesn't sell 300 and 400 houses a year, right?
Right.
So you're like, ooh, I could benefit my sister by this. That's amazing.
Wow. Okay, that is like actually listening to your lead and like figuring out what they actually want.
Crazy idea, huh?
Instead of
they want or don't want, and figure out how to give it to them.
Well, and this is great because I hear scripts all the time from so many different agents, and it's always about trying to make them want what you want, right? And it doesn't seem like that's effective. You're just trying to figure out how whatever they want, you can achieve.
Yes.
So you just have to figure out how to say that in the best way, because that would make sense. Like for me, actually, me and my husband are trying to buy a house, and we went with my sister, right?
That's weird.
So
I did not know that before this, everybody.
Yeah, so, and just because she's an agent and we're close with her, obviously. But if someone had said that to me, like, yeah, we can work together or whatever, like, of course I would say yes. Like that, there's no way I could put that down for me or for my sister, right?
Yeah. Now, we just have to, now in reality, I have to hope you don't talk to your sister before I get to meet with you.
Right, yeah.
Sister's going to be like, hell no. What? You better, don't answer that phone.
That's true. Yeah. So that's great.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, and I want to talk a little. Sorry, what did you say?
That's running on principles. So that's beyond the script. You cannot script that. It's impossible because the combination of who people are, what their perspective is, and what they want in terms of an outcome and what they're trying to get is it would be impossible to have all the variations that you need to do. So you have to learn to do that.
It's just understanding people. And that's, I mean, if you're in real estate, you're in the business of people. So might want to figure that out, right?
Absolutely. You'd be shocked, man. It's like, and I know a lot of salespeople listening to this right now, for the most part, except for people like me who probably shouldn't have gotten to sales anyway. But, natural salespeople who do understand people well and like people from the start have natural ability to do this thing, but then they get weird when they have to like approach a stranger where they don't have the context yet. So what you have to learn is, how do I draw the context out of a complete stranger when it's uncomfortable?
I like that. We actually had a question from Mark. He said, do you have a script how to talk to the sister agent, the agent that is helping with your lead?
I don't have a script for that. What you need to do is get the lead sister. You got to get in front of her first. And you need to get her on contract that says you're going to pay a referral fee to her sister. Now, listen, guys, that I picked the hardest because it's actually easy to demonstrate that one because the emotion is high and the why and the drive is really high for them not to talk to me. But I wanted to demonstrate for you how you can even take that scenario and say, oh, that's what you want. How about we achieve it this way? So no, I don't have a script for how you talk to the other agent on the other side, but it's honestly easier when sometimes you get those family member situations where they don't actually like the family member that much, or they don't actually trust the family member that much. They just don't know that there's an alternative. And so those are much easier to win. And there you don't really need to have a conversation, Sometimes you do, but it's like, hey, would you like to be involved in this? I can pay a referral fee, because I know their family, but, here's how it's going to go.
Yeah, and I think it's easy, especially even people in the chat that are asking about scripts and things like this, because it's easy to want to know everything, like how to say everything, right? And what we just talked about was the principle behind what you just talked about, the script, if you want to say that, the conversation that you were having. And so to understand the principle, it is just about the communication, understanding what they want, all that stuff, because then it comes easier. Apply it to any objection. Like you said, you took the hardest one. And I have people saying like some objections, but if you apply that same principle, then there's no objection that will be new or surprising or whatever if you're focused on what the lead wants.
Can you read a couple of the objections that they're posting?
Yeah, so Salma said, if I sell in this market, like a seller is saying, if I sell in this market, what else is out there? I might not be able to get into a home because of low inventory.
Okay, so yes, she's absolutely accurate that she might not be able to get into another home. First of all, recognize that, okay? So when you're talking to this person, that's a real possibility. And so part of this is qualifying the lead, which is, will you do what you have to do to get another home? And how important is it to you to get into another home? If you're in a tough market right now where there's exceptionally low inventory, listen, you have to requalify what is an A and B and C lead. And an A lead will basically, in some markets, cut off an appendage to buy a house that checks one box out of 10, okay, on their list. It is not the person who's like, oh, it has to be perfect for me in order to make a move, or I'm not going to take it. I don't like the color of the drapes. That doesn't happen anymore in some of these markets. So that's a requalification. And let's say that they say, hey, I don't know that I'm going to be able to get into another home because of the state of the market. Totally understandable. So what you want to do, what they're telling me is, if I can be guaranteed that I can find the right home to move into, or even secure a home to move into, I will sell, right? Isn't that's what they just said. Okay, good. So how do we structure it to where we can make sure that can you make sure they're going to get into a house if they're willing to pull the trigger, they are overqualified, they're able to compete at a high level in multiple offer situations? The answer is yes. Yeah. And that they're willing to do what they have to do. So again, it's just back to qualification, and just explain it that way. So point is, with that objection specifically, I don't ever promote that you as a salesperson try to get anyone to do anything that is not in their best interest. Okay? So if this person is not willing to do what they have to do in this market to secure a home, and it doesn't actually make sense for them to list now, then don't push them to do it. Find another person for whom it does make sense and who has to get it done and is willing to do what has to be done. That's my advice.
I like that. Another thing, Amanda asked, what suggestions do you have for someone who hasn't converted any FSBOs yet?
Got it. First thing that I want you to do is, if you're not recording your calls, record your calls, listen to them yourself, listen to them with a coach or somebody who, find somebody who sells for sale by owners or does cold prospecting, get them to listen to your call. Okay. Those are the first things to do. And I would need to know a little bit more information, like how many people have you talked to, and how many have you been able to secure any appointments yet, and what market are you in? Because right now, if you're in Utah, for sale by owners virtually don't need real estate agents at this point. So because of the state of the market, it's going to be. So
would you not focus on them then?
What's that?
Would you not focus on them then?
Your skill set is going to have to be really high. Okay. Yeah. That's, okay. I would not say never. There's always an opportunity, but if you look at it this way, if people don't have trouble getting their homes sold even on their own, then you're going to have to be an exceptionally skilled salesperson to come in and say, hey, don't tile your own bathroom, even though you studied all the classes and you bought all the materials and you have somebody telling you how to do it in your ear. Let me do it for you, because the tile job's going to be exquisite, and your wife will love you more if I do it. Right? Whatever. You gotta sell it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Michael asked, so you mentioned in the conversation we talked about in the first objection, that you said like, oh, I sell so and so, I sell 300 homes, whatever, and that was a selling point to go with you. He said, but most of us do not have this type of number, not even our company. What can we say to the owner in this situation?
Okay, well, let's go back to that situation.
Yeah.
So how can I benefit the sister? That's really all that I'm looking to do, right? Or how can I overly benefit you, or how can I also benefit the sister, if at all possible? So let's try it another way. Hey, you know what? That's fantastic that, you have a great relationship with your sister. And of course you want somebody in your court really helping you out. Let me ask you this. If I was able to partner with your sister so that I can take on some of the workload, because I'm sure she's busy, and you get two really sharp professionals out there searching for the perfect home for you so that you can actually get a good deal in this tough market. Is that something you might be interested in?
Still same benefits. Still helps the sister, helps the lead.
I still benefited your sister, right?
Yeah.
Your sister's involved. Your sister gets paid. I alleviated some of the work off your sister's plate. So do you understand the principle? All I'm doing is, how do I help you protect the relationship? How do I help you keep somebody that you know, like, and trust? And then the more, better, cheaper, faster, easier is, what does your sister get out of it?
Yeah. I like this. Principles make sense to me. So I
Good.
love this.
Excellent.
All right. Well, we're getting to the end here, and I feel like this has gone really fast, which I feel like we could talk about so many things. But I want to make sure, is there anything else that you want to say to newer agents, principles that we haven't covered, or anything here in the last few minutes?
Yeah. So I think here's what I understand, and I was in the same position that you're in now. I know that you keep asking about scripts because you want to make it easier, because you want to make it go faster, because you want to win more and lose less. I totally get it. It's hard. Cold prospecting strangers is really hard, especially when you have every red and white logo brokerage in your market cranking out brand new agents with crappy scripts and telling them to call every day. It becomes harder, right? So here's what I would say. Unfortunately, scripting isn't necessarily the way. It's understanding people and a couple of these principles that I'm teaching you, which is, it's not you versus them. It's you and them. Yes, they're going to be resistant to you. Yes, they think they don't want to talk to you. And they perceive you as representing what you can't represent, which is this stranger right now making a decision to buy or sell real estate with you under your terms. That's when they reject you. So you have to figure out, hey, who are you, and under what terms and conditions are you willing to buy or sell real estate, and how can I manipulate, or how can I set up the game so that will happen for you? That's what I would say. So it's not about the scripts. Keep doing it. Keep getting punched in the face. I know it sucks, but understand that every person you talk to on the other end is a real person and will at some point most likely buy or sell real estate in the future. Just try to build rapport with them and figure out under what circumstances will they do it, and how can we make it go faster.
Beautiful. Yes. It's all about people, and I love that. Dale, if they want to learn more, hear more from you, where can they go?
I'm really easy to find. So we have a great Facebook group. So my company is Smart Inside Sales. If you just go on to Facebook and look for us, we have a really great Facebook group where we have a lot of great training and free information. We also have a training course called Conversion University, which you can find on our website, which is smartinsidesales.com. And surprisingly enough, I'm Dale at smartinsidesales.com. So super easy to find.
Perfect. Yeah, and we'll put the links in the chat to wherever you're listening. A lot of people are chiming in saying, thank you so much. This is great. Thanks for the great info. Jerry said, so helpful to hear you say how hard prospecting can be.
It sucks, Jerry. I know it sucks. Yeah, it's hard. Nobody should lie. Anybody who comes on here is like, it's totally easy. No, they need to go. It's hard.
Agreed. Yes. And that's why people quit, because they think it's going to be easy, and then it's not when they get into it.
It's hard. Dude, I would be a black belt in karate on the cover of Men's Health magazine if it was easy. It ain't easy.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, Dale, thank you so much for spending 45 minutes with us today and teaching our audience about these great principles, which I love, and I'm sure a lot of people, like, they're chiming in that this has been great content. So thank you so much. We'll have to have you on again because of all of the valuable information. I feel like there's so much more we could get into.
I would love to share, and I love the sound of my own voice. So
sweet.
We could totally do it.
Love that. Awesome. Okay, for everyone watching, thank you so much for tuning in and asking questions and all the great things. If you want to subscribe to make sure you know when we have these podcasts and new content, stuff like that, make sure to go to theredx.com/podcast and put your email in and sign up there. Make sure you're subscribed, all the things. I don't need to say them, but thank you again for tuning in, and we will see you guys next Thursday, same time. See you later.